So, if you know anything about the Hamptons, you're probably thinking huge mansions on the beach, the elite, the rich, celebrities, everything very, very expensive. So, the idea of doing the Hamptons on a budget doesn't seem possible, does it? Well, in this video, 3 days and Tres Noches actually goes on the road. We take a road trip in between our Caribbean vacations to show you that you actually can do the Hamptons on a budget. Now, of course, everyone's version of a budget is different when it comes to vacation. So we're going to give you budget-friendly options in where to stay, where to eat, and things to do, and you can build your trip around your budget. So really the key to doing the Hamptons on a budget is to go off-season. So off-season would be April, probably like October, November, where all of the rates for where you can stay go down. And even though during those months it might not be the ideal beach weather, there's still a ton of things to do off-season. So first, what are the Hamptons? Where are the Hamptons in case you don't know? So the Hamptons are in New York. They are at the eastern end of Long Island and is a really popular destination for people in Long Island and New York City to vacation during the summer. Also known, like I said, for celebrity sightings like Alec Baldwin, Jimmy Fallon, and it's just known to be a very high-end, elite, expensive place to go. On this trip, we actually went to Montauk, which is technically not the Hamptons, but you do have to drive through the Hamptons to get there. But either way, we're going to show you some great tips to go to a high-end vacation destination spot on a budget. So let's first talk about how you get there. So yes, there's public transportation. You can actually take a train. They have the Hampton Jitney. You can fly. So unless you have a private plane, you have to fly to either Islip or JFK or LaGuardia. But on this occasion, we were driving. We were coming from New Jersey, so we drove. And it is not a fun drive at all, no matter which route you take, whether you do the GW Bridge or wherever if you're coming New Jersey. There's a lot of construction. There's always a lot of traffic. So again, this is why the first thing about doing the Hamptons or the Montauk on a budget is going off season. So this isn't going to impact your wallet, but this is going to help with the stress level because there's going to be a less traffic, especially when you get towards the Hamptons itself, because there's one way in and one way out. And in season, you can be on that stretch for hours and hours. So what a 3-hour drive could turn into a 5, 6, 7-hour drive. But once you get through the Hamptons and you're finally on that stretch towards Montauk, and you go over those hills on Old Montauk Highway and you see those beautiful views and the ocean, it's all worth it. So let's first start with budget-friendly options for places that you can stay. If you like to camp, which I do not, but if you like to camp, camping really is the most budget-friendly option when it comes to staying in Montauk. However, it's not as easy as just pulling in your camper anywhere you want to go or popping up a tent on the beach. In Montauk, there are only 2 options. One is Hither Hill State Park, and the other one is Montauk State Park. And from what I understand, it can take months, almost a year to get reservations because they're very, very popular since there's not a lot of places to camp on the beach in Montauk. The price per night is really going to depend on a lot of different factors, like when you go, how many people, what type of equipment, but you can go onto the website listed here and find out all of the information. If you prefer a hotel or an Airbnb like I do, there are literally hundreds of options when it comes to that, and it's amazing how the rates fluctuate from in-season to off-season. For instance, the Hero Club is one of my favorite hotels there. It's like this little boutique hotel. And off season, you can get it for, $200 around a night. But in season, it can go as high as $800 a night. So just like anytime you are going to go stay someplace, my recommendation is to do your research and see what the reviews are, because you can find a place off season in Montauk for $100 and $150 per night, but it may not be in the best condition. So on this trip to Montauk, we stayed at my other favorite place to stay, which is the Surf Club. It's a little bit pricier, Off season, it's about $250 a night, but in season, it can be as high as $700 a night plus because it's right on the beach. But what I love about it is that it has a full-size kitchen and a lot of space, and it is right on the beach. And part of being able to do the Hamptons and Montauk on a budget is going to require that maybe you prepare some of your own meals, you buy some food ahead of time, you get to go and carry out. So we're going to talk about that next. So now that brings us to places to eat in Montauk on a budget. I think you're going to be very surprised that there are quite a few options. So my first suggestion is to do some grocery shopping for like the staples before you leave. So things like water and milk, maybe snacks, coffee, cream, things that you know that you're going to have every single day. And if you are going to have a place that has a kitchen, then do some planning before you actually go. So maybe plan the meals ahead of time so you know if you have to buy anything ahead of time for any meals that you want to prepare. With that being said, there are actually some budget-friendly options as well when it comes to restaurants and takeout. So one morning we decided to go to the Hampton Coffee Company, and we had a nice cup of coffee, and also they have pastries, sandwiches, acai bowls. I think in the afternoon they have lunch. And for about $10 to $12 a person, you could get a cup of coffee and a light bite. And again, I know everyone's version of a budget is different, so I'm just going to give you all of the information, and then you can take it and apply it to your own personal budget. And right around the corner from the Hampton Coffee Company is the bake shop, which in season you'll see a line down the street to get into. They have great baked goods, but they also have a breakfast menu with sandwiches, pancakes, things like that you could just get on the go, and they started at like $3.50. But we've been wanting to have a sit-down breakfast and have been wanting to try John's Pancake House, which in season or even close to in season is really hard to get into for breakfast. Our breakfast was around $40, so definitely not on the budget-friendly side, but we really did want to try it so we could compare it to some of the other options. And I would say the food was just about average. Nothing special, nothing that stood out. So the next morning for breakfast, we went to one of my favorite places in Montauk, which is Naturally Good. And it's an organic market. They have juices, you can get wraps and sandwiches. And honestly, I just wish I would have gone here both mornings because the quality of their food is outstanding. Again, they try to use almost everything organic. And we went with a wrap, a breakfast wrap, and 2 juices. And I think it was just over $30. And again, worth it because the quality really, really is very, very good. So for lunch, we really wanted to try one of the delis. This one is Montauk Market, which is close to the surf club where we were staying. But we thought this would be a great budget-friendly option. Instead of having to sit down at a restaurant, you could either get some deli meats and make your own sandwiches back in your room, or just grab some sandwiches on the go, some chips, and take it back to your room. If it's nicer than it was when we were there, you could take it to the beach, eat it outside. So after speaking to some people who live there, they said this one is actually one of the more expensive ones because it is in town. But if you go over to where the docks are in Montauk, which is just maybe 5 minutes on the other side, they have a few other really good options, and they said even a little bit better quality. We paid around, we got 1 wrap and split it, some chips, and I think a drink, and it was like $22 or $25. For dinner, there are budget-friendly options as well. You can cook your food like we talked about if you have a kitchen, or you can do takeout if you do not. They also have a few really good pizza places. So you'll see here one night we actually got pizza and wings. But if you are going to go all the way to Montauk, I would suggest that you budget in one night to go out to a restaurant because they do have some really, really amazing restaurants. Just one thing to note is that off-season, not all of the restaurants are open, and the ones that are, they're not open every single night. So one of my favorites is the Inlet, and it has amazing views, but even more than that, the food, the service, the drinks are outstanding, totally worth it. And they also have amazing sushi, so they hand roll their sushi right there as well. So now let's go to things to do in Montauk on a budget. And if you love being outside and the beach and nature and hiking, then there is so much to do in Montauk that literally costs nothing. Of course, Montauk is known for its beaches, and since we were there off season, it was not great beach weather. So that's the only downside of going off season, but I've been there off season plenty of times when the beach weather is great. So you do take your chances, but still you can walk the beach and at least go on the beach for a little bit like we did, even though it was absolutely freezing. The beaches are public, and off season you shouldn't have too many issues with parking. In season, you need a permit and they give out tickets left and right, but off season you can park pretty much anywhere and go onto the beach. One of the most popular beaches in Montauk is Ditch Plains. It's really well known for its surfing, and it does have a lifeguard on duty because not all of the beaches do, and that's on the Atlantic. Also Heather Hills, which we talked about if you're going to camp there. There's Montauk Beach, so there's a bunch of different beaches on the Atlantic side. But then over on the Sound side, they have beaches too, like Gin Beach. If you love to hike and take long walks, and again, you're going to love Montauk, and everyone agrees that Shadmore State Park is a must if you're visiting Montauk. Not only does it have really nice trails, but incredible views, and it's completely free. And they also have trails that lead down to the beach as well. So you could spend some time on the beach, you can bird watch. I saw people with bikes and even fishing off the shore. One of my favorite things that we did while we were in Montauk was we went to the Montauk Lighthouse. And this isn't free, but it's only $16 a person, and it gets you into the museum, and you can also climb to the top, which we did. And I just loved all of the artifacts and the history in the museum. And then when you climb to the top, the views are really, really stunning. Again, we were there when it was very cold and windy, so it was actually a good activity to do because everything is inside. So we spent some time in the museum. Again, we climbed to the top, and then we went to the gift shop. Another thing you must do while you're in Montauk is to catch a sunset. And we went to the Montaukett, which is one of the best places to see the sunset. It's a bar, so you can sit at the bar, you can have a drink and watch the sunset. And the drinks were not too expensive. I think a beer was $6 and maybe a cocktail was $8 or $10, but you could have a drink and just enjoy the beautiful, beautiful sunset. Montauk also has a really cute little downtown area that has a lot of little shops, restaurants, boutiques, those types of things. So you could spend an afternoon just kind of walking around. Even if you're not buying anything, you could just window shop. Again, the weather when we were there wasn't so great, so we didn't spend a lot of time in the downtown. We did shop a little bit. And then I also love another area. It's called Gosman's Dock, but nothing was open since it was off season. That also has really cute little restaurants and boutiques as well. They also seem to have a ton of events going on, even off season. So before you make your trip, you could go onto Facebook. I am a member of I Love Montauk, and there's lots of different Montauk Facebook groups that you could join to prepare for your trip ahead of time to see what other events or what else there is going on when you're going. So the bottom line is that you can actually do the Hamptons on a budget. You could actually probably do any high-end beach town or high-end resort town on a budget if you plan ahead of time. And obviously going off season is really the key to making it more budget friendly, especially if you're going to be staying in a hotel or a resort. And I hope you found this video helpful. And if you did, please like and subscribe and follow us on 3 Days and Tres Noches while we keep taking you on fun and exciting adventures and vacations that you can have in a really short amount of time. You don't need an entire week to have an amazing vacation. And we are very, very excited because next month we're going to be going back to Mexico and reviewing an all-inclusive resort.